Hello and welcome to the New Dawn podcast. I'm here with my gorgeous partner, Ben, and another gorgeous Ben here today and his beautiful wife, Kerry. Ben is a communications expert and a coach, and Kerry, his incredible sidekick, is the brand support, PR, marketing, homeschooling, superhero, finances, everything. Like the dynamic duo, the absolute winning team. And I am so happy to be having this conversation with you today. It really, we were talking about this before. It is just to have these kind of conversations and to raise the importance of the topics we're going to talk about today, I think is just, well, it feels...
I've been excited since we organised it, so
yeah, it's exciting, it's interesting, it's our passion piece as well. So thank you so much for being here today. We've got a list of questions,
so many
for real, because what we've done is we watched some of your YouTube videos and your information that you've been giving, Ben, and it really spoke to us. And so how about we start off with, how long have you been together? Tell me a little bit about the both of you.
That'll be me then. So we met in 2009 through business, and we became really good friends, didn't we? Ben was quite a different person back then. So he's changed a lot. And then we got together and very quickly had children and got married, and it all kind of happened quite fast, didn't it?
Yeah, I think Kerry was this already amazing, honest, beautiful person from the inside out, and she found this scruffy guy in the gutter who she could see something great in, but she didn't know where to find it initially. So I was that wanted to be seen to be successful, full of myself, but also at the same time this contradiction of I felt inadequate, worthless, small, not good enough, and all that kind of stuff in this one body. And yeah, I don't know how she saw that, but I was really fortunate that she did. And where do we leave the story off?
And then we got married and had children and lived happily ever.
And then I lost all of our money about 3 weeks before we were due to get married. So everything was booked and paid for in Tuscany. And then a big property deal went very wrong. And we were up to 120 grand's worth of debt before we went. So we couldn't even have a honeymoon because I had lost all of that money. So we got off to a really rocky start in our marriage and relationship. Well, you could say rocky, but we sort of had to, it was like unlikely to get any harder than that. So we started at not the dreamy heaven, we started at the rock bottom. And we had to learn, and we got we recruited some really good help to start to help us build a rock solid foundation, literally from nothing. And if Kerry wasn't going to run at that point, then that gave us a lot of hope for the future.
I was going to say, it sounded like what you were doing is you stripped everything back. The life gave you the opportunity to strip everything back and then create a solid foundation together. It's a bit of a hero's journey. A lot of these things that we talk about is a hero's journey, isn't it? How do we navigate this stuff? How do we go through our lives with the challenges that come up and the good bits, and how do we navigate that?
Absolutely, Dawn. Yeah. And I think for me personally, it forced me to remove, I didn't even remove it, it was removed for me, that I wasn't this guy that had it all together, this successful person that Kerry wanted lots of material things from. That was who I thought I needed to be to fit in for years in that kind of male archetypal role, so to speak. And to have that peeled away so early in our relationship was so helpful for me, because Kerry just wanted me to stay engaged, not make it all about me, start the road towards recovery, of paying back the money, still loving her, still prioritizing her and not prioritizing myself and my depression and my misery. So it forced me to tear that off and to start, is like being born again almost.
One of the things that attracted me to talking to both of you the most was this piece that you talk about quite a lot, which is men and their relationship to their emotions. And it's something that Ben and I talk about all of the time, and especially as I'm a mum to a 10-year-old son who, he's becoming a tween. He's also a very sensitive kid, so he's got a lot of emotions. So men and their emotions and the way that society is put together and how they talk about it, and then what we do with that information to retrain, rebrand, rethink, all those kind of things is so important to me.
Yeah, I know with me, I spent a lot of time just pushing emotion down and just almost disconnecting from that whole thing. And I found over my life that it's been very hard to connect with people on any sort of level because of that. And so for a good few years now, I've been working on trying to build those sort of emotions back up and feeling everything, because I know if you stop the negative emotions, you also reduce the amount of positive emotions that you can feel as well. And it all has a knock-on effect to how you enjoy life, how you interact with people. Have you found that you've been like that with each other to some extent, or with other people?
Definitely the other way around. Ben is definitely more in touch with his feelings than me, but I realize that's quite unusual. And typically the couples that we work with, it is the way that you describe it. It's the men, isn't it, that struggle with the emotions.
Yeah, I'm going into the detail of the response to that, and I think you're right. And I think we said it just before the recording started, was it's actually unbelievably difficult for anybody to just say, wallop, this is exactly how I feel right now. And what's interesting about that is, even if we can, which is rare, great, cool, sort of talking opinions here, not in absolutes, often that first up emotion might not be what's really going on for you. That might just be the doorway into another set of emotions that are more uncomfortable. So if you hit that first door and you keep that door shut, I mean, great, that's certainly progress. But sometimes that one emotion can stop you from feeling the other uncomfortable ones, because I'm comfortable feeling angry, I'm comfortable feeling irritable, so I've said a feeling that doesn't paint the whole picture at all. It's like is one puzzle piece of a 1,000-piece puzzle. But to give yourself the space and safety, Ben, to venture into that and to really get in touch with those feelings. As a man growing up, that was certainly not an environment that was encouraged and embraced. Guys are revered for being tough, having a strong reputation. How do they score with women? Like, who's the strongest guy? Who's the champion? And I was the weird kid who wanted to talk about emotions and feelings, and you're careful to say that stuff in the playground because you're one step away from getting your head flushed down the toilet, But I really value that. It's almost like a huge part of me is being missed out if I can't get access to that space of connecting with our feelings. And interestingly, you aren't so connected, would you say, to your feelings, Kerry, but you really benefit from us creating environments where you can. Is that how you would put it?
Yeah, I had to be with Ben. That was just, he was the absolute my destiny. And I also think that there's a generational lack of talking about feelings as well. When we were children, I wasn't encouraged in my family when I was growing up to talk about feelings and hard things. If something was difficult, I was just instantly saved from it. We never dwelled on why do you feel that way. It was, how can we get you to not feel that way? Whereas we're raising our children and you're raising your son in a completely different way, in a completely different world where communication and feelings really matter. They're almost at the heart of our family.
100%.
There's So just going back to one of the things you were saying, Ben, one of the things I found that I started doing, because you were saying about it and other things we were looking at, was when you ask someone, because you asked me loads, how are you? And it's usually the answer is, I'm good. Oh, I'm not feeling great. But I started really thinking about, how do I feel? You know, not just giving a single word answer of good, bad, fine. Yeah. It's going into, how do I feel in my body? How do I feel in my mind? And then sort of just pausing and not thinking immediately about it. And like you say, going into it more, because then you're connecting more with your body and all that. And that's helped me loads.
I think that's a great point, Ben. I go to a lot of men's groups. You'll just have to tap me if I start banging on and on. And
hang on, Ben, you were just telling Kerry that, weren't you? Because I'm just aware that people listening are going to wonder what you're banging.
Oh yeah. So I just said to Kerry, stop me if I just go on a monologue about world according to me. Just please tap me gently. So you arrive at the fire at a men's group, and I am who I am, I think I'm instantly in touch with, I know where I am in this moment. There's always a mini ritual when we get to the group where you're off, you just walk off for 10 minutes and you go and connect with nature. You take your shoes off, you do something to connect with yourself, with the fire, with the environment around you. And after 10 or 15 minutes, when you get the chance to check in, you realize 15 minutes ago, I wasn't here at all. Actually, I was way up in my head. I was here on time, but I've been completely in problem solving mode. And it's taken me 15 minutes to just get grounded. And I've needed that time. I wasn't able to just say it straight off the bat. And so I've even had it today, because we had this podcast coming on, and I got up this morning. I was in a bit of a to-do list mindset. I was right up in my head, doing this, doing that. And then I'm hunting and looking around the house for things to do. I'm becoming more aware of, hey, you know, life isn't about the amount you achieve and how many boxes you can tick off today. Take yourself outside, go meditate for 10 minutes, just get yourself some space. And of course, the inner narrative says, you haven't got time to get some space. You know, there's so much to do. As soon as I hear that, I know I'm trying to almost slit my own throat emotionally and spiritually speaking, and I must take that time.
For sure. Ben and I, we don't live together at the moment. And so we're aware that when we spend time together at the weekend, we actively create space to connect and to get back in, just to connect again with each other. So what we do is we have these little ceremonies that we create. And we've done that right since the beginning, haven't we?
Near enough. Yeah, near enough.
I'd love to hear about
I'd love to hear about an example ceremony. You're probably going to give me one, Dawn. Sorry for interrupting.
Say that again.
I'd love to hear about an example ceremony that you guys go through.
So, I was going to say this morning, one of us leads the ceremony. Normally, I open the space. Okay. Just to set the scene, we have a special little blanket that we have. We put it down on the floor. Crystals are not really Ben's thing, but we add some crystals to create a little grid around the outside, and we'll have either some essential oils. I mean, it sounds all very woo-woo, but it really creates a scene and setting and an intention of, this is our space, this is our time, and so we're just using these artifacts and these things to reinforce that. So we have some music playing and things like that. And normally I open the space and I just say, you know, this is our boundary, and I talk about it a little bit like that. In fact, I've got an example of an audio that you can follow to create ceremony on my podcast. So that's the example. And then Ben has got the most incredible imagination. Absolutely. Like, I'm such a logic-based person, and Ben's just so creative. And so we encourage, or I kind of pass the mantle over to Ben, and he takes us on this really incredible imagination journey, where the aim ultimately is for us to either go on an adventure together, or we come together, and either there's some energy from my heart to his heart and we connect that way, or
I mean, some of the things we do, we've flown to the middle of the universe, or today it was turning into mermaids and mermen and going into a lake of rainbow water stuff. It's just whatever kind of.
Didn't start off like that though, did it? Right back when we first started.
No, I mean, it's
evolved.
Done mountains, all sorts of things. It's just whatever helps us to connect together, because wherever we go, it's a journey together. And that's kind of the aim behind it.
It is. And the reason I was going to mention that to you, Ben, is because this morning when I first started setting the space for our ceremony, I said, let's pull all the pieces and parts back from our day, the thoughts, our to-do list, or the kids, or the activities we've got going on, or instead of feeling like we've energetically scattered ourselves and we're still attached to all these things, let's draw it back in. Let's connect with our body. Let's feel our bum on the floor, feel our hands in each other's hands, and draw the attention and the focus back into that moment. And it's so important, like you were saying, to have that perspective, because then I know that Ben is there with me and I'm there with Ben. And even though obviously sometimes you can't help your brain kind of going places, the intention is the most important thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, and that's the other thing. Sometimes we have an intention. We set an intention before we start.
Hey, that's just beautiful, you guys.
Can't hear you.
Just let us. It might just take a second. Is it back now?
Yeah.
We're not.
Yes. I think it's because I'm pressing mute to cut out any background noise. We're just talking about being intentional about building the environments to create connection. That's where we are. Yeah, what a beautiful thing, you guys. And often couples that have found conflict or getting near divorce and life is starting to break apart for them, they get into this very black and white either or kind of thinking of, if we were meant to be, we would just be in love like we were. I mean, they're confused about what being in love was in the beginning anyway, because they were just completely addicted to what they were selling to each other.
Yes, exactly that.
Right. And so they were each other's heroin addicts and heroin distributor. And then the excuse, I've just fallen out of love with her, which you don't even know what falling in love really was. So you just feel very different. And it's almost this binary, we're in love or we're not. And Dawn, you guys are in a relatively new relationship, and look at the effort and intention you're putting into creating that environment to cultivate a connection. It's not is either on or off. It's not you're just connected or you're not. You have to make the effort to put that time aside and build that environment. We know that for a fact. Kerry and I build environments together to create exactly the same thing. We do it as a family group as well. And I do it with men, because you can, when you're in that place, when you're in your head, and it's a useful place because solving problems is often helpful. I got bills to pay, got to go out to work, we got to order shopping on time to come at exactly the right time. Those things are useful. But if you live there, it makes connection very, very difficult. So you guys are just introducing just how important it is to be intentional about building the environment to cultivate connection. Otherwise, you can't just have it on or off. It's not an on or off thing.
There's so many things that I want to add and that resonate. The first is Ben and I recognized that if we have a connection bucket each, my connection bucket empties way quicker than Ben's connection bucket. So I can say to him, right, by day 2 of us not being together, I'm already at a 5 out of 10. Whereas Ben, he's still at an 8 or a 9. And then by Thursday, I'm like, I need to talk to you. And Ben's like, all right.
Well, we only just talked 2 minutes ago.
So we're aware that we both have different needs, and we try to be as responsive as possible and aware of that as we can be. But I think that's a common trap, is you know, if I'm feeling like a 2 out of 10 and I'm looking at Ben and I'm saying, hey Ben, why are you not at 2 out of 10? Does that mean you don't love me enough anymore?
We use a lot of scales, by the way.
We
live by-
do.
It's so helpful. You know what? We use the traffic light system, because in the moment when you're insane, you can't do much more than describe, am I green, amber, or red? Like, you know, if I'm red, I am in serious danger. If I'm green, game on. But just I'm creeping up towards amber is a really fast, that's all I've got in the moment to describe to Kerry. I'm going in the wrong direction. And Kerry, we've already spoken through what that means and what the protocol is to manage the potential for breakdown in crisis. On Dawn's point, Kerry, Kerry and I have this push-pull. So I'm always trying to pull Kerry in to my world, and Kerry's always trying to push me away to get her own space. Right.
Ben, are you the anxious attacher and Kerry's the avoidant attacher, generally speaking?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct.
So Ben's the avoidant attacher and I'm the anxious attacher. There is that dynamic of, where are you going, Ben? Come back.
I'm going home. I need to.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah. So we have marriage meetings and we have marriage counsel here. We'll probably get into what counsel is in a bit. And it's always me that is creating that opportunity or reminding us. And it's not an ego-driven thing as in I'm the best. That's just something I'm tuned into, and I know is really, and Kerry does not resist it. As soon as I say a couples meeting is going to be really important or a couples counsel, Kerry never will say no, but she won't instigate it, and we just don't care. So that's my skill. Kerry brings a whole different set of skills, and I think that heart for you both to want to foster that is important. It doesn't matter who does the practical putting that in place, really. That's our opinion anyway.
I really agree. That really resonates.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely the one that instigates it anyway.
Yeah.
I'm curious though, have you come across people who are in relationships where one is all about trying to instigate communication, the other one it's like stonewalling? How do you get the person who's stonewalling to actually open up and communicate? What advice would you give to someone who's desperate to communicate with their partner, which is generally the man that doesn't want to talk because they've locked the feelings down, they don't want the confrontation, whatever reason it is, and they're just like, oh well, we're together, and as long as I'm going out to work, providing, doing all that, I can come home, chill out. How do you get someone who doesn't want to communicate to actually open up and communicate?
Great question.
This is yours.
I will answer that question. How does it feel for you when you're just not in that place and you're just not ready to meet at that level yet? What is that like for you when I'm clinging, I'm pulling? What's that experience like? Yeah,
that makes me want to retreat further. There's definitely a good timing and a way to approach me, definitely. And I need to be in a good place. If Ben's trying to grab me and I'm already at a 2 out of 10, it's just pointless.
When you say grab, do you mean like emotionally grab?
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
But apart from that, so if it's someone who just thinks everything's fine, and isn't used to the communication, how do you get them? Because this is the thing, that there's couples that you've worked with who their partners just don't want to talk, and the person who wants to talk feels rejected constantly, frustrated, resentful, all these other things, and there just doesn't seem to be a way to get the other person to talk, because the other person's going, as long as we're not shouting or whatever, it's all fine. Everything's fine. You know, we should just carry on as we do it.
And they're scared of their own emotions as
Yeah.
well, but they're not really aware of it. So they're just like, leave me alone.
Is such a brilliant question, because there's such an important balance here. One is orientated more so to creating that, and the other, left to their own devices, would just float away and not connect. So it's healthy for the other one to realize that, and we'll come back to your question in a second, Ben. And it's also really helpful for me when I want to connect with Kerry. It's probably 70-30. I know it's more for me, and I've just got to check in with, yeah, I do want that from her, and it's okay to be really clear in what I'm asking for. And that's a big part of the problem, is that people aren't really clear about what's going on. All they know they want to do is just bring Kerry in closer, and Kerry is repulsed by that, because she can feel that need. She doesn't mean to be repulsed by it. She can see, I'm afraid, I'm clingy, and I want something from her. And in the moment that can go awry. So where do you start? People want to engage, to connect, yes. And the language that they're usually starting with is they're looking to correct a thing. So it's very rare that someone would say, I'm feeling empty. You guys mentioned the buckets a moment ago. I'm feeling empty. I've used some tones with the kids this morning that I didn't like. I've been judging you in a way that you should have done this task more quickly this morning before we were going to go out, and you took ages to get ready. What usually starts to dawn on a person is what needs to be corrected. And then it often starts there, which is a disaster, because I'm on the front foot of attacking you. And it doesn't seem to me that I'm attacking you, because I'm just pointing out my opinion or my paradigm of my reality, which is completely different to Kerry's, right? So I lead with, we really need to connect, and you have been doing blank, blank, blank this morning. We don't lead in the way that I just suggested, where you have to get crystal clear on what mistakes you are making and lead with that. Kerry can be led into communication if she believes that this conversation is essentially going to be not a correction, but a conversation about how Ben can improve how he shows up in our relationship, right? So I'm not lying to Kerry. It's simply, what is the most effective and helpful way to start that dialogue? And it always starts with, if I'm the instigator, I have to be able to see what I'm doing that is not working and invite Kerry to have a conversation about that. If there's anything that would allude to, I just want to draw you into this conversation because I need to correct something you're doing, it rarely goes well.
Have you got an example of a script or something that you've practiced that works well?
That's a great question, Tool. So the answer is yes, actually. I've just written a blog on it because we had another email this week saying, I want to move into counseling or coaching or therapy, and I don't know how to enroll my husband. I think she said something, my relationship is ready for the compost.
Oh.
And she's just, it's such a scary thing, because we mentioned those emotions that you are familiar with, opening the door to some infinitely more uncomfortable emotions. And so it's just a scary thing. But what's your alternative? You either let it continue to atrophy, or you start to have these kind of conversations. So our most recent blog on our website, The Marriage People, helps people with a step-by-step, how can I do this better, with some examples of what you could take ownership for yourself to lead into that conversation, because that is not normal communication for human beings to have with each other.
This is such a leading question, right? But do you believe that communication is at the root of a lot of dysfunction in our relationships?
what's at, this is just my answer, this isn't fact. What's at the root of my dysfunction in my relationship is, one, the stories I'm telling myself about this reality and this situation. And the second one is then therefore the pain that's already in me that is then being fed by the feelings that I have as a result of that story about my reality. So it's the story and the feelings. You could say three, the pain already in me, because it's one feeding on the other. That's my answer. So yeah, that's my answer, full stop for now.
And then I completely agree with that. The story I'm telling myself is something that I have said to Ben repeatedly.
So all that filter, isn't it, really?
Yeah, the filter, the filter that we have that dictates the experiences that come at us and we have interact with them, and how wonky that filter is depends on the story, the thoughts, the beliefs, the wounding that we carry into those relationships. There's so many ways that I could go off. Like I'm thinking back to that time when you were just saying about the beginning part of a relationship, where actually you're carrying all of that into the relationship and yet you're not really aware of it, and then you're making up this kind of illusion of connection at first, which is valid on some level, but it's when the truth, anyway, that feels like a side note. I went all the way off. But what I like what you said there is that what I've learnt to communicate with Ben is exactly what you just said. And that, I think, is the art of the communication, is how do you help you understand you and then help the other person understand you, whilst the other person also feels heard and understood. But it does take both of you to really recognize and understand your own story. Do you agree?
Okay.
No, go on, Ben.
Yeah, we were talking about the movie Whale earlier on, weren't we? And it doesn't matter if the listener hasn't seen that. It's a film about somebody who's heavily addicted to the consumption of food, and that's the way they medicate the kind of the pain, the discomfort, the uncomfortable feelings that they feel inside. And they don't, do you know what, purely and simply, people don't have the vocabulary to put words to how they feel. And life is we're in such a rush. It's rare that a family just stops and says, let's stop what we're doing, let's not go and get in the car, right? Someone's upset here, let's all stop. We're even guilty of that. I've already got an agenda. We're going out for a walk after this call. We're going to go and have a coffee in Monmouth, and I know I'm already attached to that. So if there's a kerfuffle getting out of the house, and there will be, I'm already in Ben's entitled story, and Ben wants to be there by 3 o'clock, and I'm already imagining getting back to 4 o'clock. So I'm already attached to an outcome. And in that moment, I can't really see that is my problem, and I am the author of my misery. All I'm aware of with my eyesight is that Willow and Eden are arguing that they shouldn't have done this, that, and the other. So our environment and the information in our stories can be incredibly seductive and difficult to tune into. So do you need to be perfectly aware of what is happening to you in any given moment? I went off track, didn't I? I was going to bring us back to the overeating thing. I'll come back to there in a second. Building the environment is what I was saying a second. Come back to what you guys made earlier on.
There's so many things, isn't there, to say?
So many things, right? So, and again, where I went with that is in that moment where I am perceiving that if Eden and Willow weren't arguing right now, I would be really happy. What I don't know is if I were to say, I'm really attached to getting to a place at this certain time, and I've made that more important. I was a bit anxious about the podcast today because I didn't know exactly what questions were going to be asked, and I want to still look like I'm perfect and I've got all the answers. So I'm a bit tense and up in my head, not here. So, and that is my problem right now. It's I teach this stuff and it's still really hard for me to tune into that in the moment where there's that everyone in the household's moving 1,000 miles an hour. It's really tough, right? And I'm sure you guys have similar experiences. When you can, my story, identifying that, is really what humbles me and liberates me from my misery, rather than what we attempt to do is force and control the environment to hurry up, or stop Eden and Willow coming down so late, or you should just shut up when I'm talking because I'm bigger and more important than you. That just leads us to recreate the same kind of problems that we've all experienced when we didn't have sufficient time to really get in tune with how we feel. Long paragraphs, sorry. So third, you might not be able to see that in the moment. So how often are you creating as a couple opportunities like you guys, where the first thing you do is get your blanket out, get your crystals out? That might not work for you, crystals. Who cares what does work for you? It might be a nice little bit of food, some olives. People might not like olives, some cheese, nice little bit of drink, non-alcoholic, hopefully, as personal preference. And we bring our children into environments where they do have the space to communicate how they felt when I was barking at them to get out of the house. How was that for you? How did that make you feel? And they are able to give that feedback retrospectively, even if you can't perfectly do it in the moment. I would never expect, I probably do expect that of myself, but I certainly wouldn't expect that of Kerry and the girls. Yeah.
We talk about that too, Ben, about how we're not always in the moment people. Like, I don't mean present people, I mean we both like to have time to process something. So we might have a reaction or a behavior and then have time to process and think about it, and then we create an understanding between us that you are allowed to bring it back up after however long you need to for clarification once we both had a think about it. Would you say that there are ways of communicating that, actually I was going to say, what should we be aware of in order to communicate better?
I'd love you to answer that and then I'll give mine.
The question was, what should we
be aware of to communicate better, more effectively as a family?
I think we need to be aware of one another's differences.
Oh, yeah.
And respect that, yeah, Ben will communicate in the way that he wants to be communicated to, rather than perhaps in the way that I might want to be communicated to. So we find we've got 3 very different children. Ben and I couldn't be much more difficult. We are polar extremes in lots of ways. So yeah, that's the first one for me, is just understanding, respecting that we're all different and we want to be spoken to differently. And also I think one of the key questions for me and Ben, particularly for me, that I like is, when do you think we might be able to talk about such and such? So it's the when rather than can we. My defenses immediately shoot up with what have I done wrong, and I'm not ready for it. Yeah. So when Ben says, when do you think we can talk about this thing, like you, I can take my time, I can build up my argument if I'm going to need one, and get into a better place so that we can speak about it from a place of love rather than a place of fear, which is where I will often automatically go.
We often say to each other, but don't worry, there's no need to panic. Like, yes. Automatically I've gone, well, yeah. Normally, I normally say to Ben, I need to talk to you, and he's like,
yeah. What have I done? What have I done? And I'm thinking, no, what have I done? But that's kind of the thing from past relationships that I've had where I've done something wrong or whatever, and I'm automatically thinking that, you know, something's going on. So it's kind of a new thing to not have done something wrong.
Yeah, I think Kerry's point is so helpful. It's just when can we? There's no demand for right now, and that's a difficult word to find when I'm in that moment and I'm convinced what I need from Kerry right now is a hug. It might just be a hug, which I can ask for. It's almost appreciating that Kerry might not be in that place to give that to me. And what's difficult about that in your run-of-the-mill marriage is everyone's got their own rules of what marriage should and shouldn't look like, and what should and shouldn't easily be available and readily available in a marriage. So marriage is the hardest place in the world, where all of your stuff comes together like two parted oceans eventually colliding. And there's something wonderful about that. And we never need to talk about the things that are easy, because they're just easy. You don't need to pay any attention to those. But as the friction points, the butting together of the rules of your world and the rules of my world don't quite align. And it's so very difficult. So the word why is a horrible word, because it almost seems inquisitive and helpful. Why are you still doing that when I've asked you to do this? Or why have we still not left the house yet? It sounds like a rational, sensible question to put together based on the use of English language. But there's an underlying attack that says you're not doing what I want you to have done by now. And then hopefully people listening in aren't saying, well, I just won't speak at all then, because this sounds so complicated. Kerry mentioned, and I don't want people to feel that way. So have you guys come across the Enneagram? Is that something that you've heard of before?
Heard of it, but I use human design.
Okay.
What's that?
I've come across human design. Oh, yes.
Yeah, so they're similar but different modalities, but I think the aim to understand each other's style is super helpful.
Yeah, I think the love languages are limited. I think they're helpful sometimes just to make a point, but I think they're limited. The Enneagram for us is something we use on a daily basis, because everybody is this beautiful being of light. They might not always look beautiful when they're giving you a hard time, but I would describe Enneagram as almost being a kaleidoscope. Can you remember those not new, back in the 80s, kaleidoscopes were all the go, weren't they? Everyone had one.
And I'm not sure what you mean.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Present company exclude. Present company exclude.
Totally kidding.
And it's almost like every time you twist the kaleidoscope, you get a different fragmentation of light. And I find there are 9 types on the Enneagram, and each type is just a really helpful description of how that person sees the world, what's important to them, what they're afraid of, where they might use identity, where they don't. And I find that is imperative. It's become an imperative tool for us to use. And you can take a test online as well. There are free tests to take online. So I think a degree of personality profiling it's just helpful. It's not a fact. It's just, life is hard enough. So why wouldn't you just get a hold of everything you can to help you communicate with in the most important relationship in the world? If my relationship and communication with Kerry starts to break down, I know I'm in trouble in every area of my life. It infects everything. So it requires the most important attention.
Yeah, we set up, or we sorted out almost like a formulaic way of creating communication. And for the first couples communication thing, it was literally all about finding a safe place, having a time to do it and feeling okay, and then specific ways of asking questions and talking while the other person listened and stuff like that. And it seemed to work really well. It's weird because it was one of those things, when the couples were doing these things, they struggled so much with it, and we were thinking, well, this is as easy as we could make it, and it's quite natural to communicate in that way for us.
Yeah.
But there's so many couples out there that struggle just what we think is a basic way of talking, the other person's listening, and then when the person who's talking has finished saying everything that they've got as a problem, then the other person just says, oh, is there anything else? And then if there's nothing else, then the other person talks, but it doesn't turn into this, you've done this, I've done and I don't like it, that sort of thing.
The aim of our sessions was always to help people who normally chronically feel misunderstood and unheard, to feel heard and understood. And it's groundbreaking when you feel heard and understood. And that is definitely something that we've seen in our couples workshops, is just how transformative to feel seen, heard and understood can shift everything, as long as you're starting from, and here's what I think is probably, and we agree, the number one most important thing in any couple's relationship is, how safe do I feel? And I don't mean safe so you don't change your behavior. You have to behave like I need you to behave in order for me to feel safe. I don't mean that. I mean, we're not rude, we're not violent, we're not antagonistic. And if we are, we focus on reparation. We make sure that we're communicating as best as we can.
Not talking over each other.
The hard one.
It's a hard one. And just feeling like we have each other's backs, and that what we're creating together is so important, that the safety, feeling safe within that. So I'm not going to feel judged or vilified or resented or bitter just because I'm sharing what's important. Rejected, yeah. That's a big one. Just because I'm sharing how I'm feeling. So would you say, how do you go about creating healthy communication, apart from, respecting different styles? Is there like a format that you help people to navigate? Like, because I think most people don't actually know how the format of how to communicate.
It's kind of weird, isn't it, that making something into a format can help people to just go through something until they get used to it. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, so this in a way I wish this was mine, but it's not. It's something that's been handed down and is in a cultural form of communication from Indigenous American tribe, and it's something that I've been trained in and I've been doing for years in men's council circles, because I don't know why, there's just something in me that I don't have to work at, that's always hunting for, how can I improve communication? How can we build environments that nurture? I'm always looking for the best emotional and spiritual bag of compost, to grow everyone. So I describe myself.
That's so good. I love that. Yeah.
Right. And yeah, it kind of keeps me that I'm right at that lowest level as well, but there's the science of growing veg is in the food in the compost, really. So it's called Way of Counsel, and yeah, it's certainly not ours, but we're ambassadors of it, because there are some very simple guidelines that help you govern the space. And what is wonderful about it is it stops conversation, although there's absolutely a place for a conversation. Conversation's fine, but it promotes really healthy and effective listening. That's the problem, right? And why is that a problem? It's because when Dawn is sharing her experience of the morning you've just had when things went a little bit awry, Ben's listening. I'm not saying this is a fact about you guys. Ben's listening with ears that, well, you guys have got a lot of experience of this actually, so it might be different. Ben's listening for the details of what actually occurred, and Dawn is giving what he thinks is a detailed account of events according to her, but Dawn wants to express some feelings. Like, I just felt trapped. And Ben's going, well, she's got that wrong, because we didn't go to that shop first. We went to the other shop first. So she's already got that wrong. And then Ben's already listening to a different thread of the communication. Dawn's like, he's not listening. I can see. I felt trapped. And Ben's gone, no, because we didn't go to the coffee shop first. And then Dawn's feeling completely unheard, because Ben's thinking about which coffee shop we went to first rather than what Dawn's feelings were. And so that's really difficult to do in just a normal conversation environment. So Way of Counsel is my favorite part of Way of Counsel, without going into too much detail, is you have a talking piece.
stick or a candle.
Stick or a piece of nature or stone or crystal or anything, you know. So, it's going to say someone's hair, but
I was going to say nothing you can throw at each other.
Axe.
No knives.
Axe
No.
grind.
No. Now, what for me, Kerry, you give your opinion. What's wonderful, even that one principle alone, for me, it indicates clearly who is speaking here and who is doing the listening. You know, there are additional guidelines for way of counsel that help, but fundamentally, the main form of counsel we use here is that what Kerry shares is not teeing up something for me to then comment on. I'm talking about me when I'm speaking. I'm not going to say, well, you just said that, so now I'm going to say this. It gives Kerry complete independence to speak and express herself with that. And it also gives me permission to not have to label and tag onto and latch onto what Kerry said to correct, or because I didn't understand. I just listen. And then Kerry finds her own journey through being listened to, right? So I'm not trying to bust my ass being really brilliant at listening. Kerry's finding her own expression of how she feels and what's going on. And so she finds an opportunity to be listened to just by being in the space, which lets me off the hook because I don't need to do that perfectly. Kerry's in charge of that for where she goes. And I know that just whatever she says, however hard it is for her to hear, and sometimes she does have to say to me specifically, you acted like a whatever in that situation, and I felt really uncomfortable. Counsel gives me permission to not have to defend that or state my own case or correct the details. It just gives our independence back in terms of our communication. So I'm hoping that was a full answer.
I think one of the other things as well that men have as a problem with listening is they always need to find, and I think this is primarily more a male thing, they always need to find a solution rather than, and one of the things I've stopped doing is giving solutions to problems. I just listen and then see if they want a solution, because some people, and this isn't just women, this is just everyone who's talking something, sometimes they just want to talk and they don't want to have a solution, they just want to get it off the chest. And I very much used to be the kind of person who would go, well, have you tried this, have you tried that, well, this might work, and that, and rather than just going zip, cool.
Yeah,
That's up to a point, until I found it that it was a lot easier than actually giving solutions and getting the kickback from.
Or when you give solutions and the other person doesn't take them on, and then you get resentful that they didn't.
Yeah.
Hey, it's such a beautiful point, Ben, because and the way I would describe it is we just feel infinitely more comfortable with problem and solution level. You know, if I'm at problem and solution level, I don't need to go down in there. Well, I don't even know what I'm going to find. Don't know if I'm going to come back out. If I get lost in my feelings and my spirit, or I get too deep into Kerry's, I when I move into out of control, it gets quite scary. So I can control my communication. I can control my relationship in a sense if I keep the communication at a level that I feel safe and comfortable with, which is problem and solution. It's helpful in certain situations if you genuinely want some solutions. And I ask that question directly to Kerry a lot. You know, what's my role here? Because Kerry just starts in a conversation, and she should absolutely have the freedom to do that. And it might be something very seductive that I have very strong opinion about, and I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4 solutions for. I've got elite 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm like a horse racing commentator, and I'm like, so, right, what exactly is my role here? Do you really want me to offer a solution to what you've communicated? 99 times out of 100, Kerry says no. And I'm like, oh,
but they're really good.
Please, they're so good. This is painful. And I think Ben gave it the elegant description of a kickback. There's a kickback for me when I see my partner suffering and giving her a solution that I think she should implement. I get a good feeling of, oh, I'm actually useful here, rather than feeling like a bag of crap all morning.
But isn't it
Useful.
providing the solution, being useful, everything that males in society is supposed to be, you know.
Oh man, and even that subject needs time. I've seen men break apart at the realization that the solutions that they offer aren't that helpful, and they don't feel like they've got much love to give. They're not a great listener, and so they're confronted with, well, what the flip? What am I good for? What am I doing here? What am I bringing to this situation? Surely I've got to give something. And that's really, even that is important, to take time to realize that you've been doing relationships in a way where you think a relationship is problem solution. And there might be some in a business environment, in a work environment, and that's absolutely fine. That will simply just limit your ability to connect. That's all. It's not really even good or bad. It's just, it limits your ability to connect with each other.
What do you think is the most difficult part of learning to communicate? Is it the listening piece?
Sure.
I think it's the listening. I think that although we're not great at always talking about feelings, generally people are good at talking. And I think we need to practice listening. And that's what's powerful about counsel, as well as that you're forced to listen. Because otherwise I think we just want to share, and we just want to talk and be heard. But often, and you mentioned that, Dawn, that people just really want to be heard. They're desperate for it. But we often find that the people that want to be heard aren't good at hearing. So it needs to kind of start there. If you want to be heard, then you need to listen. You need to hear your partner and what they're trying to communicate.
And my answer to that is, I was the youngest in my family, and everyone was bigger and more louder and had more to say than I did. So I just took default role, whatever crumbs were left over, I just scooped them up. So what was interesting about that is whenever the elders spoke, it was an expectation and a demand that you listen, even if they just wanted to just say all kinds of horrible things about government, race, blah, blah, blah. It was just, so you would just instantly go into, I'm in listening mode now. Whether you've got the capacity to listen to or not is a completely different thing. And the most helpful step is for me to understand me, and not to expect, because Kerry's my wife, to just have this, I've got some Play-Doh here, an empty cup, not just she's this person that I can just pour myself into whenever I like, and expecting that she's ready after having a day with the kids and she's absolutely knackered, that I can just take that from her because I need it. So as a man, it's wise and healthy to seek out something like a men's group where these guys are deciding to come to a circle where we're going to be talking about our feelings, and we're going to help each other with it, that I'm not then just making Kerry my number one source of me dealing with my stuff, because that I'm a lot to handle. I got a lot to say, and I want someone to listen to me a lot, and just forcing Kerry to be that person just squishes who she is, and it creates another set of problems. So finding an environment outside of your relationship, I suggest same sex, doesn't have to be, but I suggest same sex, gives you just another income stream of spiritual and emotional health to improve your relationship with your partner. That's what I think.
There's definitely a thing, and I know I've got this with my friends as well, where men don't really get rid of or express their emotions the same way as women. They'll go out and they've got problems, things on their mind, and again, it's a solution-based thing for men. You go out, you play pool, you just talk, have a joke about things, but you don't really fully commit to any sort of feelings and things like that. And I think when you're trying to communicate that to your partner, if they don't understand the difference in the way men and women talk about things, there can be very much a kind of wall there in the ability to understand it. And so you'll have women talking to their men like they would to a woman. And that's why men don't really get, why are you being so emotional about this? It's quite a simple thing. And it seems like it's a much easier thing to a man than a woman. And then you've got a man just talking like he would to a man, to a woman. And she's going, well, why are you not unhappy about this? Why are you not angry or sad or excited or whatever else? Because there's things you'll get excited about. And I'm like, well, it's not happened yet. So I'm not excited about it yet, or something. Or because I know it's like we were saying about attachments earlier. I don't get attached to an outcome, whereas you will get attached to outcomes.
I'm already excited about, if it's in a month's time, I'm already thinking about it, and I'm excited about it, and I'm trying to calm myself down, but I'm attached and I don't want to be, but I'm trying not to be, but we all know I am.
And whereas I'm like, well, if it happens, it happens, and I'll be excited at the time, and then if it doesn't happen, I'm sort of, okay, that's fine. Whereas you're like, no,
That's true.
but I find, so going back to what I was saying before, I find the way men communicate with each other and their emotions is so much different to the way women communicate with each other, that's part of the problem in couples with the way they communicate with each other, because there's a lack of understanding.
I think
styles.
We were talking, sorry, Ben.
Yeah.
We were highlighting also on that point, and I don't know if you've seen this and what you two talk about in terms of your communication, that depending on where I am in my menstrual cycle will not only depend how available I am for communication, how emotional I am for communication, and generally just what I need from the other person in terms of style. And it can vary significantly. Like I can have a rational conversation when I'm ovulating, and then a couple of days before my period, like I don't know, not every month, but it can be quite an emotional experience where I'm like, I don't understand. Have you noticed that in your communication as well?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, Ben. And again, I think the art is in letting your partner know. I don't really need to let Ben know. He often tells me. He sees it before I do.
It's those magic words. It's the time of the month, is it? And then he gets his coat and
no, it's not even that. He's like, he'll actually say to me, "Is this day 21?" Yeah.
How far off of day 21 are we?
Yeah.
Just inquisitive, because I know it's day 20 or day 22 because I can feel it.
My face changes apparently.
100%.
Yeah. Or he'll know if I'm ovulating, and so we won't talk about big things then, and he won't try and get from me too much. He knows if it's the week leading up to my period, then he has to go and seek wisdom elsewhere. He has to go and find other sources of people to listen, because I'm in another room for the whole week, near enough. I'm emotionally, aren't I? So withdrawn. He just has to go and get filled by other people.
And that's and just a disclaimer almost, when I'm suggesting or asking, are we close to day 21? It's not a ridicule of Kerry. It's not an attack of what are you doing being at day 21? I need something from you. It's really genuinely gauging how much emotional capacity is available here. It's a smart question. If I'm chiming in with, I need you, I'm going to give you both barrels, and I need to get you to be listening to me for half an hour, and Kerry's not there, that really, I guess I go as far as to say violates Kerry, so yeah, Guy. Sorry, I missed that, Ben.
How much wine and chocolate's needed?
So I'd be on calls, new couples, I'm asking her, where are you at in your cycle? And some guys look at me with a look of absolute terror. They can't believe I've asked her where she is in her cycle. He looks at me like, you just can't speak to her like that. And what's hilarious is she always responds to me like, yeah, I'm getting close to that kind of time actually. And then she starts opening up, and he's looking at like he can't believe what's happening in the conversation. At the same time, she's given me a very different authority and permission to have those kind of questions and to make those kind of inquiries. So for people listening, we're going to encourage you to open up to the idea of including your partner's cycle in different stages throughout the month, to just give you information, not to say anything's bad or wrong. It's just at these certain times of the month, what do you really need from me more? What do you need from me less? And again, it's really important to ask for what we want. Before I just go in both barrels with Kerry, I have to inquire, where are you at right now? I've got a lot to say. How much airtime can you give me? Kerry says,
isn't it?
Sorry, Dawn.
So respectful that way.
Yeah. End of the day, I am attached to an outcome. I want everything Kerry's got to give me, but it just might not be right now. And I'm not a little boy anymore. I act like it often. But I can't just say, I want this now, give it to me. It's loving to say, where are you at? I really need this from you. When am I most likely to get it? It's just what maturity looks like in a relationship. Just using words and asking clearly for what you want without being attached to the outcome.
It brings in that marvelous thing called clarity that we were mentioning earlier.
That's right.
It makes life so much easier, doesn't it, when you ask and don't guess.
Well, that's the other thing. I don't know.
No mind reading involved.
Yeah, no mind reading. That's the other thing, isn't it? Like Ben and I are conflict avoidant. We are not fans of conflict, and we have learned independently of each other how to communicate with people from almost like a maladaptive space of trying not to interact or incite violence in our relationships or with other people. You're like a master at it these days. But it has meant that we practice by default non-violent communication. But that means, like exactly like you were saying, you have to be clear. You have to really want to share and share openly, because otherwise you are mind reading and you're going to make a story to bring it all the way back to what you were saying earlier. The story I'm telling myself is, and then watch it as it explodes.
It's massively important, the words you use, though, because a lot of this, and you'll know this is, I don't want to tell you how to suck eggs or anything, but it's all these things where when you communicate and it's, you're doing this wrong, and it's you, and we're supposed to be using I feel like this, and making it not about you, but expressing how you feel to the other person so that they understand more where you're coming from, rather than being
I think that's a great point, Ben. And you know what? It's okay if you have to start there, because often Kerry will lead into where am I by highlighting what I've done wrong, which is okay because pardon.
You give us an example.
You aren't making me a priority right now, right? So you're busy and I'm just not feeling like you're a priority. And I'm like, because we actually we got another men's retreat in September in Brecon, and we had a men's retreat in February, getting them in cold water out in nature, getting them in council in circle. It's just out of this world, heaven. And I wasn't that organized. I did well to deliver the event, and I'm walking, Michael J. Fox in what was The Secret of My Success, when he's walking on sunshine and everything's going his way. You might not know that if you're not an 80s child. And then Kerry and I went out for some quality time together. She says, I've got to get something off my chest. And I'm like, oh, great. Yeah, I'm ready. I can hear you. Because like, must be about someone else, because I'm sure they screwed up. So I'm crushing it right now. And Kerry says, and Kerry says, you're not making me a priority, and you're really busy, and you're in your head. And yeah, and it went on for several sentences, and I'm just getting more and more squashed. And so we've had so much experience of this that my feelings were hurt because I felt I was doing really well, right? So the conversation continued. We went and sat on an important rock. It was called the Conversation on the Rock, is being referred to as. And Kerry, when she finished her number of sentences, she says, oh, that feels so good. I just had to say all that, you know, and in that moment, she can't reframe the words to take ownership. She can only communicate what she can see with her eyes. And I'm like, okay, I did have to say, well, I could have heard this easier if you would have just said, here's where you're doing well. Now I need to tell you where you're not doing well. Because I start hearing nothing Ben ever does is ever going to be good enough to make me happy. Do you know what I mean? And if you're willing next time, because I know there'll be a next time, to just say, here are 2 things you've done great. Now I really got to let go.
It's called we'll have
feedback sandwich.
Oh, a feedback
Yeah.
sandwich. But good, bad, good.
I can really relate to that, Ben, because my love language, you know, to really be reductive with this is words of affirmation. So if I'm hearing words that are not stroking my ego, I'm automatically going, oh no, oh God. And I'm a worthless human being, and this, and you know,
you're lovely.
yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've got some experience of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it sounds to me like you two are doing some really incredible work for the people who are desperately in need of learning some tools and genuinely want to connect with each other. They love each other, but they don't know how to bridge that gap between where they are and where they want to be. And I know that you've recently rebranded to the Damn Good Listener, and listening to both of you talk about this topic, it is clear that not only are you passionate, but you're experienced in it, you're relatable, and the people who are going to come and see you are absolutely going to reap the benefits of the benefits. I fucking love it. The benefits of being surrounded and with you both. Now, the last thing that I wanted to ask you, because honestly, we could talk to you for hours and hours, but you talk about the importance of wholeheartedness, and I'm guessing wholeheartedness feeds into communication and listening and the marriage piece and being in a connection with each other. But can you describe to me what wholehearted means to you?
Yeah, just that word makes me feel emotional for where, you know, this is a safe space here. It's going all the way beyond that door of what's comfortable and into that space of absolute vulnerability where I don't know if I'm going to come back out of here, you know. And so often I have this conversation with people and I can see in their face that this is as far as I want to go with you right now. And that's probably enough for today. And wholehearted means, there was again the scene in the movie and the whale, I think what just tore into Kerry and I last night was at the end. When he says what's amazing about his daughter, and he really has to go there because it gets you to see that, to name that, and to go into that depth of vulnerable to express that is what would be my description of whole heart. There would be no holding back. There would be complete openness, complete vulnerability, and to not be afraid. And there would be no fear, you know, to not be afraid of if I cry like a little boy, or if I wet myself with my pants when I'm doing it, or poo my pants, that I'm actually willing to enter that space. It takes courage to do. That's my definition. And I just think of it in the context of when you're speaking to your children, like he did in the movie, because it brings out something innocent and tender and something pure in that relationship. And I apologize if you haven't got children. I'm sure you've had an experience witnessing that tenderness and innocence in children. It brings something beautiful in terms of a reflection of you into the space, into the communication. And on a practical note, I think it's just to give everything you've got, just don't hold back and be in your relationship 100%, even if they're going through a really hard time and they hate you, flipping stick in there, stick at it, Have you got an answer, Kerry?
That's great. Yeah.
I resonate so deeply with that, Ben. And when I talk about wholehearted living, which is something that I'm passionate about too, it chokes me up massively. And I said to Ben, like in our relationship, I'm all in and I am willing to put on my big girl pants whenever I need to go wherever we need to go. And I will pull out the courage, I will pull out the bravery, and I will live this relationship and the other parts of my life wholeheartedly, because there is for me no other way. I want to experience it all, and I want to experience it deeply. And I think that's part of the thing that you appreciate about me, is my passion for these things, isn't it? But it gets me, it really it really gets
yeah, and I get that. I'm still trying to be brave enough to live everything wholeheartedly and get all my emotions out and things like that, because I find it hard to cry, and I don't think I've cried since I was about 14, 15, 16.
Done it once when we were together.
Have I? Was that like one tear that went down?
Yeah.
That might have been a tiredness. I've been trying to sort of really just allow myself to feel things like that, be okay with it. So yeah, that's something I'm working on, really.
Yeah.
Hey, that's such a beautiful point, Ben. To allow myself to feel things like that. We've been taught this is acceptable, that's not acceptable. Those feelings are acceptable, they're not. You don't cry, you don't behave like that in this environment. You do behave like this. And to give yourself that permission. At the men's retreat, we spent a lot of time building what does a safe container look like? What's a safe space for these men? Because everyone's ready to abseil at different rates. Some people want to check the harness and don't want to go abseiling into the depth of their feelings and their spirit yet. Some guys are already harnessed up, and some of them are diving in the cave without even getting harnessed up. And everyone's got their level, everyone's got their own rate of evolution and opening up to this, and that's okay. It's absolutely okay to be where you are. And if you're listening to a podcast like this and following Dawn's stuff, what a beautiful thing. What a beautiful thing. It's like there's no right or wrong way. We're just exploring what's possible, aren't we, really?
Yes.
Yeah. I think the only wrong way I can see is not to try, or not to grow, and just stay in your own pain all the time. It's like the whole thing of being uncomfortably comfortable.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, really. So get out of the pain, get out of the whatever little circle you're stuck in, and just push the boundaries. I think it's important. I need to go and do another thing in a minute, don't I? So
thank you both from the bottom of my heart for this conversation today. I feel like that's how I start off my sentences. I feel like Ben starts off, I think.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can start this off with, I knew this was going to be a good one.
But thank you. Can you please share with us how people can get in contact with you? I'll put the details in the show notes and in the YouTube video as well. But if you could share, especially also your Men's Council Circle, how people can contact you about that, please do.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Yeah, we've just rebranded a lot of our social media stuff with the Damn Good Listener. So you could just sort of follow us there. And if you come to the marriagepeople.co.uk website, we've just put some really straightforward, easy to follow videos. They're £5 each. And they just, for people that just want to reconnect and explore this stuff and have something that their partner can just sit down and watch without having to work too hard, and get some kind of guidelines for how to start to take this stuff into their relationship. It's easy watching, it's easy to do. That's where you would find some of that helpful stuff.
Thank you so much. And I hope that you will come back onto this podcast again in the near future, and we can delve into some more of this juicy and important topic.
It'd be awesome. It's been really good talking to you both.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank
Such
you.
a gift. Thank you very much for your time. That's amazing.